send this message. I have in my lap a cat losing her mind.
Oh, cute.
Just rolling around. She may jingle jangle on the mic. And if she does, that's okay. I'll accept it.
I have a flat cat. Laying like a pancake.
Flat Cat Monday.
On her blanket like she do all day long. All day strong. Every day.
Wait, it's not Monday, it's Tuesday.
It is Tuesday.
Y'all, I don't know what the deal with my brain is right now. I think work has just been a little too crazy, but I don't brain so good right now. If I ever brained good.
Yeah. That gap between the holidays, whatever gets done there.
I hope that all the colleges that did their semesters differently for the pandemic and are doing their semesters differently right now, like the one that my mom works at, they ended their first semester before Thanksgiving, so they don't have to go back until after Christmas. So they have that whole chunk of time to not be at school. And I'm like, that's
wow.
wonderful. You should do that forever now. That's how it should be.
That's interesting. And that's probably so they don't like go home, expose their families, come back, go home.
Exactly. Yeah.
When you're really only back for like, I mean, if 3 weeks, if you're in college.
And like having those like awful few weeks where you're just stressed about like exams and stuff. Like why?
Yeah.
Why?
I feel like the reverse of that is trouble too, where it's like go home, get exposed to your family, and then bring whatever they've got going on back to school with you.
Exactly.
Yep.
Like
not good in either direction.
Let's not cross-contaminate these two groups.
Blech.
Blech.
Here's my Christmas tree.
Oh,
it's so festive.
It's pretty.
Yes, it's got little creatures on it. That's the main theme. It's like little critters.
Ooh.
We got a kiwi bird. We got an alligator, a lion. Doesn't make any sense.
I have a Christmas tree in my apartment for the first time ever.
Whoa.
I'm 31. Never put up a Christmas tree in my apartment. Did it this year.
Is it a big one? A little one?
It looks like your size.
Yeah. It's nice. It's good table size. Just whoop, can go in the window. Look festive.
Sharon, when you look at your Christmas tree, do you say this place is a zoo?
It could be. I could say that. Here's this little alligator. He's nice. Look at him.
That is nice.
He's like a little bristly dude. Yep. I have a
hi tree.
Hello.
You have a what?
A shrimp on the tree.
Oh.
Shrimp. And a spider. Several birds.
Magical and majestic.
It does its best. It's doing its best for being very old and falling apart as a fake tree,
I respect it. How is everyone? I know, Sharon, I get to see you a little bit between book clubs. Lauren, I don't get to see you at all between book clubs. How y'all doing? How are things?
It's going okay. Chugging along. Yep. I wish I had...
I think we're all brain dead.
when you don't do... My work's been kind of crummy, so there's not a whole lot to say there. I had an anime night this past weekend, and I watched Akira for the first time.
Oh, how'd you like that?
Blew me away. It was so good. Somehow, I mean, it's been like 40 years since this movie came out, and the plot hadn't been spoiled for me, even though I've been around anime since high school. So I went in being like, oh, it's like motorcycles, like little racing motorcycle gangs. That's not what it's about. It was a delight. It was really fun.
It, like, some of the scenes, I don't know if you've seen this before or not, but some of the scenes in Akira directly inspired scenes in what's the name of the guy who did, is it James Cameron who did the Terminator movies, the director? I think it's James Cameron.
Yeah,
anyway,
sure.
Whoever that director is took Akira scenes and used them in, like, there's a couple of scenes in Terminator where, like, they do the, like, driving, skid to the side motorcycle, and then it stops. Like,
Yeah. The whole like birth of cyberpunk and like that whole concept, and I was watching this video, and Kanye West was really heavily inspired by Akira, and like apparently has like a music video that's like pretty directly inspired. And then of course you have like Ghost in the Shell and The Matrix and all of these cool cyberpunk visual stuff.
I don't know if I was too young when I watched it, but I watched the original Ghost in the Shell movie, and it just did not, like, stick with me in a appealing fashion. The show, Standalone Complex, has been a long time favorite. Like, it's one of those where I'm like, this is going to transcend its time period by a long shot. But the movie, I was like, it's okay.
It's been so long. I kind of want to watch that. And there's another one. I think it's Perfect Blue. It's supposed to be like one of the older, like quintessential like anime movies that I haven't seen. So
that's one coming up. That's another one I haven't seen in a super duper long time, and I should definitely revisit. Like, that was even longer ago than Ghost in the Shell. Goodness gracious. I've been watching Jujutsu Kaisen, and very strongly recommend it to anyone who likes supernatural anime, martial arts anime, or martial arts anime that uses supernatural elements.
It's like one of my favorite shonen I've read over the past year. God, I just binged I finished the anime, and then I immediately started reading the manga. And now I'm just like, we'll see. I'm almost caught up. I'm like maybe 30 chapters behind.
Oh, that's not bad.
The most recent. Yeah. I'm not one of those people that can read chapter by week. I have to like let it build up a bit. Or else it'll be totally unsatisfying.
Yeah, it's fair. Isn't it still an ongoing series? Like, they haven't concluded it just yet, have they?
No. Mm-mm. And there should be a movie coming out semi soon.
Ooh.
If you haven't seen the trailer for that, definitely check it out.
I have not. I'm glad that you mentioned it because I hadn't even heard about that. Hell yes, Tree.
Whoa.
That is a really good set.
That's awesome. I wish I owned Full Metal Alchemist. Jealous.
All right. I think as much as I love having anime discussion, this is technically book club. You guys want to jump into it?
Yeah.
All right. Let's talk about The Haunting of Tram Car 15.
Wow, you have the physical copy. It looks longer than I thought it was.
It's from a library somewhere.
Ooh.
I bought it, but the copy that I bought is recycled from a library.
Good for you. Saving the planet.
Or stealing from libraries? I don't know.
I mean, I think usually if it comes out of circulation from a library, it's because they sold it at a library sale, right? So like
that's what I'm using.
I'm in support of that.
Yeah.
So I guess what did y'all think of the book as a whole? Like, did you enjoy it? And then like I know I kind of want to talk about like some of the like detective themes, like talk about it as a detective book and then talk about it as like a fantasy world building kind of book. I don't know which one you want to jump in on first.
So overall impressions, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a really well done, like it's the thing I really like about novellas like these are that they take an idea and they explore it fairly fully. You don't get a ton of world building, but that means you get a lot more of like meaty plot. Like you don't spend 30 pages being like, and here is the universe they exist within, because they're like, we don't have time for that. We don't have pages for that. We're going to give you, we're in Cairo. Magic got released here. We might give you a little bit as we go along. Let's do this. Like,
yeah, I think that's probably one of the things that I like about novellas, because I'm generally not a huge fan of like the telling of world building. And so I feel like you have to be really intentional when your book is only like 130 pages. You can't be like, yes, let me give you a lecture on how this magic system works. Like, ugh. I'm not super into that, which is like, if you are, that's fine. And that's a fun fantasy book thing. But I kind of like picking that up a little bit at a time, which I think this book did pretty well. Like you weren't supposed to understand how magic works because your main characters don't do magic. And they have like, they're kind of like stumbling around, and you pick up like a little bit about Jin, I believe. Jin? Sharon, you're
Jin,
maybe the expert.
I'm gonna go with Jin.
Like a little bit about Jin here, and then like a little bit about like magic users there. I don't know. I enjoyed the little breadcrumbs piecing it together.
It felt like a very nice vignette of a world with a perfect little story. Just like it felt almost like if you made a movie trailer for the world that had the whole plot in a trailer, but also you knew that there was more. And you're like, well, okay, well, I know what happens in the trailer, but like, what else is going on over there?
Like a pilot for a TV show. Yeah.
I did like pick up on like, okay, we're advertising another story here. Like, I get it. I want to know that also. Like, you can't just drop this character in here as like a little reference and then just let me be like, okay, well, I guess we're not gonna meet her until the like last 2 pages of the book, and then be like, well, now I want to know what's going on. Fine.
Yeah. I think it definitely did that. And I finished this book and I was like, oh God, I really want to read this next book. Which is kind of like, I think the intention maybe, or maybe the author like wanted to sort of establish the world and see if it was interesting or see if it could go places. I don't know.
I don't know if this is accurate, but I got the impression that the A Dead Jin in Cairo book existed before this one did, so that it was kind of like, I'm going to write more stuff in this universe, and I'm going to write a novella because I have like a short story I want to tell in this universe. But I'm also going to point you back to the larger story because I feel like that's the more, if you want more of this, here's where you go get it. Because like putting it as the epilogue, especially to me, feels like, hey, if you liked this, you should also check out.
Yeah. So it was A Dead Djinn in Cairo was first, and it's like a short story. That's the one I linked in the book club chat that's free on Tor's website. And so I think it was the like short story. I don't know what counts as a short story. It's like maybe 60 pages or something. It's like not quite a novella.
Okay.
Featuring Fatma, and then you get this tram car, and then you get the full length novel, I think.
Oh, I had not realized that.
Mm-hmm. But it's still, nice.
That is a book. Did
you order it? Or is that my copy?
I got this one a while ago off of your recommendation, Lauren.
Oh,
nice. Yeah, and it's about Fatma too. So
yeah, she's the star of that one and is fantastic. It's very fun.
I kind of enjoyed how Hamed's whole thing is like, oh, you know, like I support that she's a female agent and she's doing a lot of great work. Well, it'd be nice if I got my picture in a paper sometime, you know. And then getting to fulfill the dream.
I was happy for him in the end, but I did find him to be sort of one of those obnoxious narrators. Like, I enjoyed the characters of the people around him more. They were like more enthusiastic and more lively, and he's just like, I'm trying to do my job, but like not in a really very passionate way. I'm just like, oh, you're too enthusiastic. Oh, you're too unprofessional. Oh, you're like, nothing was good for him. And
yeah,
like, Hamid, you are such a stick in the mud. Like, come on.
I kind of saw it as like in the sort of like buddy cop trope of like the jaded older detective and like the young eager like recruit who's like oh my gosh, honestly, I loved him. He's always like, well, in the codes, and oh gosh, he reminded me a little bit of like a character that would be in Guards.
Carrot.
He was just like very eager,
yeah,
and like always quoting like rules that like no one's heard of before, and respecting women and talking about Marxist theory when you wouldn't expect it. I thought he was a fun character and a nice contrast. Like, I thought Hamed, it like what to me, he walked the line of like, he's kind of like a grumpy, reluctant investigator, but without being like too offensive about it. Like, he was still like, yes, I respect these people, and like, oh, they're more powerful than you'd think or something. But yeah,
he had a lot of Kermit sipping tea energy, where it was like, I'm gonna stay in my lane and do my thing, because that's, you know, I don't know how I feel about this, but it's really none of my business. Like,
yeah, like with the boilerplate eunuchs getting like independence, he was like, oh Lord, what worms. I don't want nothing to do with that.
He's like, I have no idea how this is going to complicate my life going forward, and I'm going to keep my hands away from it.
I feel like I could definitely see him like smoking a cigarette with like a little hat, like a fedora or something.
Well, he had what did he call it? what kind of a tarbouche? I think.
Yes, I found myself, especially the first time I read it, Googling lots of clothing items so
Oh
I
my
could like
god.
visualize it. And I kind of love that the author doesn't really hold your hand. They're not like, and this is what that looks like. You just like look it up or don't, you know? Same with some of the food.
A tarbouche is a fez.
Mm.
So, or I guess a kind of fez. A tarbouche is a red felt or cloth cap with a tassel. So it is fez-like. So when he talks about like getting knocked over and his tarbouche going flying, like now you can picture just a little fez flying through the air. Magnificent. I'm about it.
I enjoyed the buddy cop dynamic. I was glad they didn't really have a femme fatale character. Because I mean, I like detective fiction. Like that's like such a common thing. And City, I can't remember her name. The waitress.
Oh, she called herself, I think it was Abla to them, and then they went to like find the doll maker, and she was like, "Oh, but she'll know me as City."
She shows up in the other books under City.
I had a suspicion that would be the case. I did enjoy how both Ansri and Hamed were both like, she's kind of fascinating, isn't she? Like, what a mysterious woman this is. And then she's like, look, I'm bored. Like, let's talk about what you guys have going on, because you're clearly talking about it way too loud for it to be private.
Yeah, it's fun because this was sort of similar to here. This was the book I read first, and then I read the previous one, which she's in, the like short story novelette, and then I read Master of Jinn, which she's also in, and I was like, now reading this, I was like, ooh, they don't know who they're talking to. Ooh, did you feel compelled when she said that? Which was fun.
I think she was my favorite character out of like all the characters we got to spend time with in the book, because she was very like simultaneously no nonsense, but that little bit of like wink and a smirk kind of deal. Like I was about that. I really enjoyed how it starts out being very much like, okay, this is going to be kind of a mystery deal, and we're going to be doing, it's going to be like a supernatural mystery. And then you get like 20 pages in and they're like, surprise, motherfuckers, it's also about women's suffrage. Bring it on.
Yeah. I liked the women's suffrage like plot. What plot is, I don't know, themes? The themes of, you know, I don't know, women's work and whatnot, because like really they're helped along the way like quite a bit. It's like City is the one that gives them the connections to the various people. The like women's group is the one that like helps identify, like perform the exorcism. That doesn't work, but still. And then, you know, women are the ones that like confront it, the all in the end. And it's just like I like how present the theme is throughout the book.
And then when they get their picture in the paper, they're still dressed as women.
Yeah.
So, hey. Yeah.
I thought it was good.
I also liked the way that they, you know, do sort of the alternate history thing in addition to the whole general, world, like magic-y, steampunky stuff, where there's like some shade towards like England and Oxford, and like those backwaters. And just like nice.
Yeah. I really enjoyed I pulled out 2 references that I was like, help the world feel like more like historically real. There was a reference to America's Trouble in the 60s, which is the 18 whatever, like the Civil War, I think, is what it was a reference to. And then also like that's what happens when you let people read Marx. And I was like,
yeah,
ooh. Like what's going on in the world around then? Like that was fun. It was a fun, I don't know, timeline.
I also enjoyed the author kind of explicitly being like, because they had access to magic, there's a couple of battles and like smaller wars that start and then quickly like get finished because they're like, well, we have Jin. Like, you can't, what are you going to do to us? Like, you can't touch us. We have so much magic at our disposal now. And so like they talk about Germany and Italy being quickly thwarted, and they talk about England also being thwarted. And I'm like, y'all out here referencing World War One? Is that what y'all are out here referencing the 7 Years' War? Like, what is? Oh my gosh, yes. And it's just like having all of that be kind of the backdrop for what is essentially a investigator story with women's suffrage as an overarching theme. Like, love it. Speaking of which, when we were talking about that, when Abla is first introduced, Hamed is like, oh, this isn't, usually there's a guy who serves me here who like always refers to me as captain and like makes me feel kind of big and important, and he always gets my favorites. And Abla's like, I think I can handle this. I think. And then Hamed and Ansri both are like, oh, that's so good. Oh, she did in fact deliver, like, oh, such good food.
Yeah, I think it also does a really good job of the city feels a little bit like a character, and it brings up how like multicultural and multi sort of ethnic Cairo is. And not to be that person, but I've been to Cairo and it's really fantastic, and it is like really like diverse and vibrant, and I really appreciated seeing that like reflected in this. Like people are from like all different backgrounds, and Egypt feels like a part of both Africa and like the Middle East in a way that I don't think from a Western perspective it's like viewed as. It just kind of gets like viewed as like part of the Middle East. I don't know. So I thought it was really cool and enjoyable. All the different like religions and languages and like cultural dress and all sorts of stuff like that.
I don't know if either of you are familiar with the webcomic Questionable Content, but the AI characters in Questionable Content, like the way that the boilerplate Unix and the like machines that were, like waking up and seeing themselves as more or something. And then the line, you let some people read Marx, all of that stuff hit the same vibe for me. And I really liked seeing that like window of like, oh, what could be in this world. And like part of that I really enjoyed when they were trying to do the czar ritual with the tram car, and they're like, okay, well, if we have to treat this tram car like a person, we're gonna like drape it in white sheets instead of like putting like a white like simple like robe on a person, and they put like coal under its little lantern, like it's its eye. And I was like, this is precious. I love it. I thought that was just great.
Yeah.
And I want to see, like, 50 years down the line, what does it look like for, awakened machines who are, conscious and have their own thoughts and opinions and lives, and what do they want to do?
Yeah. I totally agree. I'm like familiar with questionable content, but I haven't read it. But I really liked this stuff about the boilerplate eunuchs and the potential for like AI and stuff. One, because it's like fun and steampunky sci-fi, but also because the world building there, like it's not an explanation of like it just gives you enough that you're like, ooh, I wonder what that's gonna be like in 50 years. Like you're kind of left like wondering, or like with this like little tiny window into like what's clearly like a much bigger thing.
Mm-hmm.
Thought it was very cool. I liked the oh, interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't read Going Postal recently enough to make the comparison, but that is 2 Pratchett references in one book discussion, which is really interesting.
Going Postal is shortly after, in universe time, I mean, Feet of Clay, which is a story about golems, like Jewish style golems, becoming sentient free creatures in Ankh-Morpork. And Going Postal is one of the first stories where like a golem is getting a job that is not like a physical labor kind of job. And they're exploring a lot of, oh, that's right, Tree, and unionized. And so like they're exploring a lot of the themes of like, what is it going to be like when AI becomes so intelligent that we can't deny its sentience?
Yeah, that sounds really cool. And also, I just know that those feminist alliance women would be like, yeah, let's unionize these boilerplate eunuchs.
Hell yes. Honestly, the whole where they're in the building and there's like images of Hatshepsut everywhere, and there's all these women from all over the country coming in and like producing flyers and organizing and things like that. I thought that whole sequence was really amazing because it was a little bit like, I've spent a little bit of time in like union offices and in political campaign offices, and there is like, especially when something's really big, there is kind of that vibe where it's like there's activity everywhere. We're gonna do this. We're gonna get this thing done.
Yeah. Bustling.
Yeah, I think part of the idea there, Tree, is like with magic, things are a little more progressive because they have to be to keep up with all the magic. Because Jinn aren't playing around.
And Jinn are like gender fluid, which was cool too. Like the Jinn who would sometimes manifest more feminine or masculine or right in the middle.
Yeah. Yeah, 1920. Women's right to vote. I just, for funsies, looked up the first state to give women the right to vote, because I knew it was out west, and I knew it was a lot earlier than nationally. And apparently, it's Wyoming in 1869.
Really?
Yeah. Well, so various states were giving women the right to vote, but like it wasn't federal. Women had a lot more power and influence in the the Western states.
That makes some sense, because in the Western states, it was a lot less like established patriarchal, oh yeah, like this is how things are done because this is how things have been done for the last, I guess, you said 1876.